Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast with me, Jonathan Puddle, and with my friend Tryphena Gagnon. This is the B-side for episode 128 with Kevin Sweeney. If you've not listened to that, I'd recommend you go back and listen to that first, and then come right back here, where Tryphena and I unpack some of the ways that Kevin's words and thoughts and spirit impacted us. And here we are, also unpacking Tryphena and I's first go co-hosting together. So this I think Kevin was very kind and gracious. He was a great guinea pig for us because he was so inclusive, like you said earlier.
He really was so inclusive, and he just he held his space and held space for both of us. I love that, off the bat, he was like, "So Tryphena, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh, way to draw me out."
Yeah.
It was very, very sweet.
Yes, I paid him to do. No, I didn't pay him to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so we didn't. I threw this out there in the episode, but this really has stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I kind of preached about it a bit at church. This thing that he says earlier in the book, that, okay, you're mad about the thing that's in front of you. You're upset. Like in my case, I'm upset about the realities my foster daughter has been exposed to.
Yeah.
Upset. This is what I said to my church. I'm upset for the realities of what my foster daughter has been exposed to. I'm upset that I'm left to pick up the pieces. I'm upset that it falls to me, which is me being very selfishly authentic right here, right? This is in a bad moment. I'm upset at the inconveniences in my life. But what Kevin said is really the truth that you uncover the more you lean into the mystic journey. You're not as upset about those face value things as you are upset that you live in a universe with these kinds of rules.
Yeah.
It's like the anger and the sense of injustice that we face at the very real, tangible injustices in front of us can actually be elevated. And I think they need to be elevated individually. I think it's wise that we all go on this journey individually to elevate that injustice to actually the level of a cosmic betrayal that we got injected into this world through no choice of our own, that works like this. Hard pass, God. Reality sucks.
It really does.
And yet, it's also full of goodness and life. And somehow, there's a savior who was also injected, actually willingly, into this reality, who has been redeeming and making all things new. But as long as I remain fixated on the surface level anger and source of my frustration and injustice, I can stay there for a long time and I can do some good there, but there's this elevation, and even elevation / deepening, to say, actually, I'm more upset that I live in a universe that allows for pain like this. And if I'm honest about that, then I can do some deep work on me and sit and encounter God in the midst of that kind of honesty, like what gives, like what the actual F. And I'm not an activist, so in that kind of justice context, I can't speak authoritatively, but I listen to folks like Christina Cleveland and others who are saying, to do this work sustainably, you have to also do your own deep work.
Yeah.
And in my case, parenting sustainably and fostering sustainably and pastoring and just being a person who cares, it was a really, really helpful thing for me in the last 2 weeks. As I said at the beginning of the show, it grabbed me because I had been really struggling to be present. And again, I just thought I was so annoyed. about the painful realities, but he hit me square between the eyes. No, actually, the reason that I'm really struggling to be present is that I don't want to live in this cosmos.
Mm.
And so when I read that and I was able to take a really deep breath, or 10, go, okay, this is just pain.
Yeah.
I do live in this cosmos. And there's also beauty here. And I can find hope here. And I can only find hope here. I can't find hope in some future tripping alternate reality where I can pretend all these things don't exist. I can only find it here in this one. So, okay, I'll lean back in to God in the present moment, in however that looks, right? And for me, it's often in nature, in the trees, and I just look at the things around me and I'm like, okay, God is holding this table together, this chair, the atoms, the cotton of my denim, like God is all through me and around me, and all of existence pulsates with his life. That's also part of this cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I can lean into that. So that was my first big takeaway from his book. And I think that's only like in the second chapter, kind of once you're out of the prologue. And he's dropped these little hints about future mushroom tripping stories. But yeah, like I was like, okay, this is a mystic. This guy actually has done the time investment in
Mm-hmm.
silence and solitude, because you don't say those kinds of things about reality unless you've gone and got your ticket stamped.
I like that way of looking at it. No, I completely agree. And I think we've talked a little bit about this, about like the dark night of the soul, but there's a depth and a weight to which he seemed to walk in, because he's walked through the dark nights of the soul. And I think in some ways, even as you're saying, like some of those dark nights of the soul play out on a daily basis when we're just like grappling with the reality of the universe and the place that we live in. And something I found so profound, even as he was talking around like his liberation theology, and like, which I find him so fascinating as like a male who's white studying like Black theology. Um, he was very aware of his social location, but because of that, um, he kind of understands the messiness of it, right? Like one of the things that we've been talking a lot about just at home and even with our churches, what does it look like to unpack our backpack? What does it look like to understand why we believe what we believe, why we react in the way we react? Why am I having a level 10 reaction to a level 2 thing? And
Yeah.
so often it's because of our past traumas, our past beliefs. And I think, I know it sounds like I'm going on a tangent, but I actually feel like they're so connected,
Yeah.
um, because they all speak to the brokenness of our reality that we're grappling with and then trying to live out, because at the end of the day we are still accountable for how we show up in the space that we are. um but yeah, I love like that language of the pain and the sorrow being about just the pain in the world that we're in,
Yeah.
because that is heavy. And I think just even on like a little level, I've had to mute so many of my news feeds right now with just the way the world looks around us,
Mhm.
because it is painful and it is really heavy. Or I look at like your foster daughter and like what she's had to walk through. Like when you spend too much time thinking about it, it gets really heavy. Not that you want to walk away from that, because I think that's where the transformation happens, when you're actually able to really sit in the messiness of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I find the trap for me uh, is always um, to help too much, right? Like the
Mm.
Enneagram 2, uh, I will heal you with my love. I will just love everybody so well, and I will wrap my arms around everybody so much that I can just solve all the problems. I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain.
Uh-oh.
No, I can't. Turns out, and that's another part of their harsh reality I don't like to be
Mm.
honest about, that I can't solve the problems. And that oh yeah, so he digs deeper into that realm. Ugh, gross, what a horrible book he's written. It's good. Look, I'm being sarcastic. About this thing of like, I don't want to admit that I can't solve all the problems, because that would call into question my value. And so he said, the thing is never the thing. And we kind of like, we talk about, there's a lot of different ways that we talk about that, right? Like the thing is never the thing. It's not really the fight that you're having with your spouse. It's the disconnect. So he's like, for you personally, in terms of even your ego battle, and I love that you brought up the trauma just then, because as you, like, the ego and trauma, survival are really tightly bound. And as you lean into a contemplative practice and move to a space where you can start to observe the ego, and hopefully pay compassionate attention to the wants and needs of the ego, that brings up all the pain that the ego carries and all the attempts the ego's been trying to keep you alive. And in there is this issue of value. And so it's like, I don't want to admit that I can't love people back to life, because if I can't do that, then what is my value? Because I've put so much value in subconsciously into that thing. And so, all of these things, we don't ask ourselves the question. We don't sit in silence and solitude because it's too provocative, like to our own deep spaces. And man, I deal with this every single day as like a stay-at-home dad slash self-employed writer slash whatever I am. Every single day, I have to give myself permission to not just bust my balls in busyness from dawn to dusk. Like today, every single day, I sit on the couch and I go, Jonathan, part of what you do requires bandwidth. And sitting on this couch right now for 5 minutes and doing nothing is valuable. And you have value. And this does not call into question your intrinsic worth and value as a human being. And I mean, this is daily and sometimes hour by hour. And I imagine that some of my readers are like, whoa, you need to read this book called You Are Enough, because clearly that message has not sunk deep enough into your heart. But I guess there's layers. I don't know.
Listen, I feel that in my bones. Like I feel so much imposter syndrome showing up in spaces like these, or just even the same stay-at-home parent, beginning to figure out what else I'm doing right now in this season. And feeling like it's not enough. And if I sit down for a moment, I'm like, I know my partner, my friends, like they're all hustling in different ways. But you are right that it takes a different level of bandwidth. I laugh though at You Are Enough, because last week I was just done. I'm like, I can't get it all done. And I feel like I'm so busy, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, falling apart. So I pulled out You Are Enough. That was my like touchstone habit. I'm like, I need to go back and remember that I am enough as I am. But one of the things I found so beautiful about like this conversation and about his book was even the part where he quoted Rumi, about the dance that happens inside of you, just for you, right? Because I've been reflecting a little bit on like when Jesus talks about generosity and talks about not worrying because he takes care of the flowers in the field. Nobody sees the flowers in the field. Like if I'm hiking on the path. I'm not hiking off the beaten path to the flowers that are there.
Right.
But yet they are as valuable, even though no one witnesses their beauty. And to me, that's like, even like listening to him talk, I was like, oh, so the things that are beautiful to me or bring me life, or I'm learning about God, or I smiled because I saw something funny today. Like it may not be productive, but it's what I'm actually on this earth to do, to like
Mm,
delight. But it's such a mind F where it goes against all of my conditioning
yes.
that my experience needs to be productive. Even when you talk about, like, as an Enneagram 2, like needing to love people well, I think that's so beautiful. And you love people well, like so well, like using the word well too much here. Um, but I have I can only speak about myself in my own life because I'm also an Enneagram 2. I end up in a place where I'm doing that because I'm doing it for God. So I'm going to hang out with you and I'm going to ask you all the questions and I'm going to like prophesy over you and speak life over your life because I'm a good Christian and that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's not like, sometimes it's coming from overflow and sometimes it's coming out of love. I mean, it's always coming from a area of love, but I definitely have to check myself because I can leave conversation and give myself a little check mark like, oh,
Yeah.
I was Jesus' hands and feet today. Um, and that it's problematic where my
Yes.
worth is coming from that.
Yeah. So I've heard, and this infuriates me, and I don't like it. But I heard someone recently say, when you leave those experiences and you're tempted to give yourself that checkbox, and you feel like you've just done something so alive and so on brand for your soul,
On brand.
that's when you are deep in it, in the ego and the shadow of your personality.
Yeah.
And it's like when you feel that fulfillment, and I'm like, no, F off. I want to feel like I'm doing fulfilling work, especially because I spent my whole life contorting myself to other people's definitions of it.
Yes.
So yeah, okay, there's layers of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, two things. Henry Nouwen
Hmm.
says, when we offer cure without care, it's dehumanizing. So that's a thing. And then relating somewhat to that and coming back to the flowers, dang, I'm going to sit with this because it's like you just said, essentially in my head, this is what my head heard you say. It's
Hmm.
like if the tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound, right? If a
Yeah.
flower shines in a field and no one's there to gaze on its beauty, is it actually beautiful? Yeah, we would say, of course it is. Like, if
Absolutely.
your soul sitting there on the couch contemplates the mysteries and no one's there to appreciate that, has it still worshiped God? Absolutely.
Yeah.
uh Thomas Merton, coming
Hmm.
back to Merton, uh I forget the exact words. I would run upstairs and grab it, but that's way too nerdy. Basically, is like, all a tree has to do to give full glory to its creator and be everything it was ever made to be is just bloody stand there in a field and be a
Yeah.
tree.
Oh.
Like, that's it.
Oh, I
It's a
love that.
tree.
Yeah.
And standing there being a tree is everything. And so we carry the Imago Dei, and just breathing and being alive is a chorus of praise in a
Hmm.
dark world. If you could remind me of these words, even in 2 hours from now would be great.
I'll text you. By the way, Jonathan, no, it's such a struggle for me to practically live that out. Like I felt like last week I was journaling this out and literally it was around the same concept of just the more that I embrace the Imago Dei on me, like the more that I am like myself in all of my Tryphena glory, the more I'm actually like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And for and that like that flips everything that I have thought for so long on its head. And I struggle with that because Tryphena's messy and she's loud and she's too much, or like these are all like things that I'll like, carry into my spaces. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just like, oh, now that I'm sitting with it, it just feels really intense. Um, it just feels heavy. And then even like we were just talking about unpacking everything behind it and how this is the universe. So then I look at, so why am I struggling with this? Why am I specifically as like an Indian Canadian woman, like why is productivity so important? It's like a first generation immigrant um, in a nation that was colonized. And so our worth came from works. And then the way that evangelicalism got played out there. Um, anyways, there's so many things there, but it's like, I think that's where I get stuck too. Cause I'm like, if I really start unpacking this, there is no,
Yeah, there's no stopping it.
no.
And at the bottom of the stack is, do you have worth?
Yeah.
Is there any worth left for you? But the answer is yes.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like it was at the end of the book where he talked about how nothing is in nothing. I'm going to butcher this, but you can't like there's nothing that you can't deconstruct except for the indestructible love. Like, and I was like, oh, that kind of gave me hope even on this journey of like, hey, so like the more that I'm unpacking various aspects of my life, at the bottom of it is love, which is God.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So one of the other things he said that I feel like is a relevant segue here from what you just said is this whole thing about how you don't need to go away on retreat, you don't need to go to another conference, you don't need another spiritual experience, because you can lean into the presence and the reality of cosmic love right here, right now.
Yeah.
And that's totally true, except when it isn't. Like, just like pragmatically speaking,
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to go on that retreat, which I'm sure you would agree with. Like yeah, it's like sometimes
Yeah.
in terms of bandwidth, I've got to get out of Dodge in
Mhm.
order to get back to what I know is true and reappropriate it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can bring it back, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need a personal trainer
Mhm.
at the gym. You need to
Yep.
get out of your house where you've got all the free weights that you could be using anytime, but you know you're not. And you've got your own body, you've got all the resistance exercises you could be doing, but you're not. And
Yep.
so sometimes forcing yourself to the gym and paying somebody to kick your butt helps. Like, it removes some of that, I don't know, overhead. Like, I
Mhm.
called my therapist the other day and I was like, I've been using all the tools, I'm doing really great, but right now I don't have the bandwidth to walk myself through what I'm dealing with. So I
Yeah.
need you, sir, to walk me through it. I know the tools. I know I could do this myself if I had more resources and capacity, but I don't.
Mhm.
And he's like, great, that's what we're here for.
Mhm.
And $125 later, I'm feeling way better about my life. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. Oh, when you were talking about the gym, I was like, that was where my mind went to therapy. I'm like, not that I think we critically need therapists and psychologists in our life, but there are often times where I'm like, I could sit here and do the work and journal it out myself, but I don't even have the energy to start with where the questions are. Um, so this is what I found interesting because you're right. I love how he talked about you're not needing the retreat, but sometimes we do. We do need to, pay the trainer, pay the therapist. I think sometimes for me, I need the exercise class. Like there's something as an extrovert needing the corporate community. But I do feel like we're in this really pivotal moment in the world of the church, where especially coming out of COVID, I'm so tired of talking about COVID, but especially coming out of it, um, we've either gone one of two ways. We've realized, well, we don't need the church and we don't need God, and there was nothing it was changing in my life. Or two, like I thought the presence lived in the building, but really the presence, like I get to carry spirit with me every day. And so I thought it was just interesting because I was going to ask him, like, how does this play out in your pastoral ministry? And I was like, oh, but your church is actually closing, which felt really profound to me because I don't know the whole story there. And I'm sure COVID played a part of that. But I'm like, it also means that you, I'm assuming, have done a great job of imparting to individuals their own spiritual practices. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's a big leap.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I was so blessed, and like again, agitated, and blessed in an agitated, provocative way by his lack of need
Yeah.
to convince his people of these things, and the fact that they didn't care about any of the books he read. I'm just like, oh, you're describing my life, except you're an Enneagram 5 who doesn't care anyway, and I really care. And it, this whole thing of detachment, of like not
Mhm.
needing the people, like offering them everything, loving them, but
Yes.
not needing them,
Yes.
which we do, I think, clearly see modeled in Jesus's life. He lays it all out, but he does not chase a single person down the street.
No.
And I have chased a lot, and as soon as I hear anybody talk about like detachment, I'm like, get out of my soul, because I know I need it.
Mhm.
But it calls my value into question, because part of the reason I love people is to prove myself as necessary in their life so that they can never leave me. Ugh, the worst.
It all comes back to value and identity. Like, at the bottom of this, you're right. I wrote it down where he talked about Jesus never chased anyone, and what stuck out to me was Jesus never closed his heart to anyone, because that's the other
Right.
side. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I'm gonna try and love you well, but this is not going well, and I need to protect myself." And so
Yeah.
all of
So,
my walls and stonewalling, go up.
hilariously, what does an Enneagram 2 look like when they're trying to ask and put boundaries in place? When we try this stuff out and we're really bad at it, we look like an unhealthy 8, which is essentially like, I'm burning you all down. Here are my walls, and I will pour oil on you from the top of my tower. Like, and that's it. And I've done this. I'm like, yeah, I'm just having boundaries. Actually, you're just being an asshole, and you don't
Yeah.
know how to like not.
Oh, that actually, yeah, that explains a lot of me trying to figure out boundaries.
It's messy for us.
Yeah. So I like this really stuck out to me. So like just gut level honest. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. One of them is a lot like me. And so I struggle with that because they represent all of my insecurities and it's lovely. And so anyways, mornings are rough. One morning this week was particularly rough and I like allowed this child to go to school and I didn't like properly say goodbye. And I was like, I am trying to close my heart to a child. But this is me trying to figure out like little Try is freaking out. She's triggered. She has so much going on. She's like curled up in a corner. And like adult Try is like, okay, so you have to protect yourself now. But how do you like so anyways, I find this with parenting as just a mind fudge because I like, yeah, I have no words, Jonathan, because this is where I struggle.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's real. It is real. Um, tangential, but really helpful in all of this. I had my friend Lisa Colon Delay on the show. Her
Mhm.
book is really, really good in this space. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, so basically these guys are riffing on mystical contemplation and the impacts of trauma. That's
Mm.
exactly what Lisa's book is. What's it called now? The Wild Land Within, I
I'm gonna
think.
write this down.
The
Okay.
Wild Land Within. And so here's a woman who
Mm.
has grown up Hispanic, kind of white presenting,
Mm.
but has a rich cultural heritage that is where's she from? I don't remember, and I'm going to say it wrong. She's Puerto Rican, perhaps. Forgive me, Lisa. And so she's written this, and she's done all this contemplative work and read
Mm.
all the contemplative masters, like who we're talking about here, Merton and many, many others,
Mhm.
and Rumi, and has ended up at this space that like for her own self, realized how provocative all of this was into her pain and trauma. And very few of those masters, because they're often writing up to the 60s and 70s and then centuries and millennia before, had none of the trauma tools and awareness and brain and body keeps the score that we do have now. And so she's drawn all this together and basically been like, here's how to dive into contemplation, and then here's how to deal with all the horrible things you find there, and here's how to not like drive your car off a cliff because all you wanted to do is get closer to God in the silence and stillness, and what you found there was like darkness and pain and fear. So she's done that really well, and it from the ground up. It's cross-cultural, intersectional. She's like, if I can quote a womanist theologian on this, I won't quote the regular white guys.
Love it.
Done the work so well. Like it's a brilliant book. The Wild Land Within, or The Wildlands Within, Lisa Colon Delay.
I will have to order it tonight. That sounds like what my heart needs.
It's good. You'd dig it.
Okay.
As would many of you. Friends, thanks for being here for another B-side. Tryphena, thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you for having me on, sharing where you're at.
This is good. Friends, I hope it's been good for you. Grace and peace. Lean into the silence. Lean into the contemplation. Be honest that you live in this cosmos. Because it's only here in this cosmos that you will find hope and peace and joy. Because as I told our church on Sunday, there is this Savior who was born into a human body and grew up and had friends, made friends, experienced betrayal, felt what it was like to be abandoned, and even died. And so every single part of the human experience, Jesus scooped up in his arms to bring them to his Father to redeem them all. So the whole thing gets to somehow be a part of the journey to make all things new. So may you find, friends, hope and peace and new life springing up, even and especially here. Thanks for listening, friends. This has been a podcast B-side. Check your podcast app or jonathanpuddle.com for new main episodes, which are numbered and usually have interviews with guests. And then check a week or two later for a B-side with me and Tryphena and maybe some other friends. And if you want to support the show, you can become a patron at patreon.com/jonathanpuddle.